Selamat pagi pemirsa Broadcasting News, kembali hadir menyumpai Anda dengan informasi teraktual dan menarik. Bersama saya Sabrina, inilah selengkapnya. Kali ini saya akan membahas awal mula konflik yang sedang terjadi antara Palestina dan Israel. The conflict between Israel and Palestine heat up again. This happened when the Hamas group, which control Gaza, launched a massive attack on Israeli territory on Saturday, 7 October. This Hamas attack is one of new series in the history Israel-Palestine, where for decades various parties has described the difficult as Israel-Palestine as a conflict that is difficult to resolve and complicated. What is the end of the conflict between Israel and Palestine? We will review it full for you. During World War I, England and Turkey reached an agreement regarding the future of the Gaza Strip, and the most of Arab Asia belonged to the Ottoman Sultan. At the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, the European countries that won the war prevented the creation of a united Arab kingdom. Instead, they established the Shares mandate of the Alawite division, the entire territory. Thus, the Gaza Strip became part of British mandate over Palestine, which was approved the language of nation. The period of British rule was extended between 1920 and 1948, as quoted from Al Jazeera. More than 100 years ago, on November 2, 1917, the British Foreign Minister at the time, Arthur Balfour, wrote the letter addressed to Leonard Walter Russell, a Jewish communist figure in England. Short, the 67 word, but its contents had an impact on Palestine that is felt today. This agreement bound the British government to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine and partially at the achievement of this goal. The letter is known as the Balfour Declaration. In essence, the European powers promised the Zionist movement a country in a region where 90% of the population is a native Palestine. The British mandate was formed in 1923 and lasts until 1948. During this period, the British facilitated the mass migration of Jews, where there was a fairly large wave of arrival after the Nazi movement in Europe. In this wave of migration, they encountered resistance of the Palestinians were concerned about the changing demographics of their country and also confiscation of their land. The British to the hand over the Jewish settlers. Increasing tension eventually led to Arab revolt, which lasted from 1936 to 1939. In April 1946, newly formed Arab National Committee asked the Palestine to launch a general strike when holding tax payment and colonialism and increasing Jewish immigration. The 6-month strike was brutally suppressed by the British, who launched a campaign of mass arrests and demolished homes, a treatment that Israel continued to apply to Palestine to this day. The second phase of the rebellion began in late 1937 and has led by the resistance movement, which target British power and colonialism. In the second half of 1939, the British had deployed 30,000 troops in Palestine. At the same time, the British collaborated with the Jewish settler community and formed armed groups and the counter-insurgency force consisting of Jewish fighters within the pre-started settler community. Weapons were secretly imported. The weapon factory were established to expand to Haganah of the Jewish military, which later became the core of the Israel army in 3 years of uprising. 5,000 Palestinians were killed, 15,000 to 20,000 people were injured, and 5,600 people were imprisoned in 1947. The Jewish population had expanded to 33% in Palestine, but they only owned 6% of the land. The United Nations or UN, they adopt resolution 181 which called a division or Palestine into a state. Palestine Arab and Jewish state reject to plan because it gave about 57% of Palestine to Jewish state, including most of the fertile coasting areas. At the time, Palestine still controlled 94% of the territory and made up 67% of the population. Israel had launched for prolonging military offensive in Gaza. Namely, in 2008 and 2021, Palestinians have been killed, including many children and tens thousands of schoolhouses and office buildings have been destroyed. Well, both parties have historical claim to the same land, which has been source of trade for contours. We will see in the next slide that on October 7, 2023, the Palestinian militia group Hamas suddenly launched an attack on Israel territory. This attack, called Operation Hurricane Al-Aqsa, resulted in hundreds of casualties. This attack was carried out the response on blockade that Israel has carried on North Gaza for 16 years, as well as two cities on the West Bank over past years. This attack also marked the tension and prolonged conflict between the two parties in response to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu officially declaring war against Hamas. Currently, Israel has carried out the large-scale counterattack with casualties on both sides. Has claimed thousands of lives through history. The region has been hit by a series of armed conflicts, including several wars, and have determined the dynamic of Israel-Palestine relations for decades. And tension between Israel and Hamas, which has controlled Gaza since 2007, have often occurred, but the attack by Palestinian militia group on October 7 shocked all parties. Hamas fired rockets into Israel as dozens of militia members crossed the border and stormed Israel communities, killing hundreds of people and taking others captive. The attack the militant group on October 7 described as the most serious cross-border attack Israel and faced in the more than a generation, as well the most ambitious operator launch. We will see Hamas for Gaza in the next slide. Well, the war between Hamas and Israel that broke last weekend and attracted the attention of the whole world. Various countries or figures have also voiced their opinion, and many tend to or firmly defend one side. The fact the R1. The thing that needs the emphasized is that peace is the best way to avoid increasing casualties from the civil side. As for a number of countries that are on Israel's side, we see, including the United States, the United States President Joe Biden, and pressing support and even order United States ship and flight plans to approach Israel to send military aid. The United States government at the Pentagon also sent new military assistance. USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier and warship, as well as increasing fighter aircraft, squadron, and region the UK. If we look here, the British Prime Minister told Netanyahu that UK firmly support Israel and is working to ensure the war has one voice. Australia urged effort for a ceasefire, weapon to protect the life of civilians in the Gaza conflict. At the same time, this country expressed support for Israel and it tried to defend itself. The French President Emmanuel Macron commended the attack carried out against Israel and confirmed his support for the country. He stated the French stand in solidarity with Israel community to their security and their right. They defend themselves. Then is there India. Narendra Modi expressed his support for Israel in the short time after the attack, saying the India stand with Israel is difficult time. Whereas a number of the countries have defended the action of Hamas and super Palestine, including North Korea, which openly critical Israel and said that this conflict occurred because previously Israel had ever stopped carrying out the criminal acts against the Palestinian people. Then China called a protection of civilians and said the way out of this conflict like implementing two-state solution and establish of a Palestinian state. Then Israel to neighboring countries, Egypt and Jordan have urged the state the Zionist exercise. Palestine, Egypt warned Israel against taking disproportionate action against Palestine in relation for Hamas attack. The oil-rich country of Qatar also has ties to Hamas and provide significant aid to the Gaza region. The Qatar government say Israel is fully responsible for the escalation ongoing due to continuous violation of the right of the Palestinian people. Then what about Indonesian attitude? We will see in the next slide. President Joko Widodo confirmed Indonesian position regarding the situation of the Palestinian and Israel conflict, which occurred again. He expressed concern and urged a resumption of war and acts of violence. What happened in Palestine-Israel conflict area was immediately stopped to avoid fatal casualties. Apart from that, the president also encouraged the problems that gave rise to the Palestinian and Israel conflict to be resolved immediately in accordance with the provision agreed upon by the UN. Regardless of the complexity of what occurred, we expect violence action. And I immediately saw what there are more casualties. In fact, many efforts have been made to resolve the Palestine-Israel conflict, but up to now, no agreement has been realized. But hopeful dialogue and diplomatic effort can continue to be carried in influencing many support to realize a just and fair solution.
Tanggapan saya tentang perang Israel dan Palestina, sebenarnya itu bukan hanya perang agama saja ya, tapi itu tentang kemanusiaan. Karena di daerah Gaza itu bukan hanya Muslim, ada non Muslim juga yang hidup di sana. Jadi saya tidak suka aja kenapa harus perang gitu. Kalau memang bisa diselesaikan baik-baik, mending baik-baik gitu. Kalau dari sejarahnya sebenarnya daerah Gaza itu dari dulu itu miliknya adalah Palestina, bukan milik Israel. Israel itu adalah bangsa pendatang gitu ya, penjajah gitu kalau udah. Makasih.
Bagi khususnya rakyat Indonesia ya, jadi Quran suci walaupun sama-sama orang Islam itu kan merebut dari zaman dahulu itu kan gak masuk akal. Sebenarnya ya dalam Al-Quran disebutkan kan Israel kan orang pembangkang disebutkan, makanya Afghanistan selalu mengalah, bukan karena kalah tapi mengalah. Bagi saya ya hebatlah Afghanistan, mudah-mudahan orang bisa sapu merebut kembali. Ya.